The Engadine Valley in the Swiss Alps. We're in St. Moritz, the home of winter ice sliding, for the FIBT Bauhaus Women's Skeleton World Championships. And we're now getting ready to start the second of 4 heats. I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me is Olympic champion John Montgomery. And John, fascinating race already in prospect. We've got we've got the 3 hot favourites, I guess, in the top 3 places. But maybe the big story is Anja Huber of Germany, who's only 23rd.
Yeah, no big surprises with the top 3, but there have been some surprises by some of the other athletes. This is Lizzie Yarnold coming into Horseshoe with a really nice high line there, and coming down the track in what was not surprisingly the 3rd best run, having defending her race victory here last year in fine form, with the first run being in 3rd place. She's got 3 more runs to try and maintain a medal position. Noelle Pikus Pace, with the track record from the team race, coming out here in her first run of the individual women's heat and putting down a run that we would have expected from her. But the big surprise came after Noelle Pikus Pace, after her blistering run here, with an absolute smoker from Shelley Redmond. And as you'll watch here in the video to come, her lines were flawless. Her start at the top of the track wasn't incredibly quick relative to the field, but she found speed the entire way down the track. Coming out of Horseshoe here, taking it high, and coming out with speeds of 1:02, the highest of the heat, and she only continued to pull away from the field at the bottom of the track here, crossing the finish line, not with a track record run because it is early in the day and the track is not at its fastest yet, but she may have an opportunity on the second heat here. You can see Anja Huber here right after the first run, incredibly disappointed, a former world champion, a former World Cup overall champion, in 23rd spot right now, and the tears are evident of the fact that she didn't have the kind of run that she's capable of here. Trouble all the way down the track, sitting in 23rd, disappointing day for her.
Well, disappointing day indeed. Shelley Rudman, though, is our race leader by 4,500, 6/10 back to 3rd place. Lizzie Arnold, who took a bronze medal behind Katie Eulander, the world champion 12 months ago in Lake Placid. Melissa Hollingsworth lies in 5th, just 100th behind Katie, and there you can see the top 20, Donna Crichton in 20th spot. 29 sleds started the first heat and will all go in the second. And the fastest 20 will go in reverse order, and then from Maria Mazalou of Romania down to Sarah Levancic of Slovenia, they will go 21 down to 29 in this beautiful sunny conditions here. And John Montgomery, unlike every other track in the world, because this is an artificial track high in the Alps and it's naturally very cold, it actually gets quicker rather than slower the days goes on.
It does, and we're going to see the second heat here with faster times in the first heat. We're going to be going off from 20th down to 1st, and then the balance going after 1st. So you're going to see the best athletes having better ice and a greater opportunity to pull away from the field, which is just reflective of the fact that we're here in St. Moritz today, and the track gets quicker as the day goes on, to a point. In the men's race tomorrow, we might have some snow, we might have some adverse conditions, and so it might not play to the favor of the athletes that pick the late draw, like myself and the Dukers. But you can see the girls here in Parc Fermé between runs. They get an opportunity to adjust their rock, take out any nicks that have been created as a result of debris in the track, but you can't change runners. You can't do anything else but change the rock, which is the bow in the runner, and get rid of any nicks like we talked about.
Well, in this scenic location, it'll be Donna Crichton who kicks the second heat off, 20th down to 1. Nozomi Kimura of Japan, Lucy Chaffer, and so on will run in their finishing order from the first heat. And our race leader will be 20th off the hill, Shelley Rudman. It's not done then, though. 21 on down to 29th positions will get their turn. In tomorrow's 3rd heat, it'll go leader first, and 29th will be 29th off the hill. And then in the 4th and final heat, the field will be trimmed to the fastest 20, and they will go in reverse order, building to the climax of our World Championship deciding slides. Well, you can see fans not just beside the track, but actually walking along the walls of the track here in this natural ice track. And lots of friends and family alongside this St. Moritz track, and a very knowledgeable crowd here as well. We are ready to start with the legendary sound of our track announcer greeting Donna Crichton at the top of the track here in St. Moritz. Blistering start, 2nd quickest in the field, 5:26 from Donna, but as in training, below wall corner, it all started to trickle away from her. Let's see if she can improve on this second run.
The track announcer, like you mentioned, talks to each athlete in their native language. He's got the Japanese lingo down, the Russian, and of course, when you got a British slider like Donna Crichton here, he's speaking to them in English.
53.9 kilometers an hour first corner momentum, and that's indicative of how quick her getaway was.
So now we start from the 20th place to number 1.
Nice smooth exit of wall there, coming into snake 1 and snake 2. Looks like she's got no issues with there. Some of the athletes are skidding onto and off of snake 2, but Donna had a nice line through there. A little bit late into Nash. Smooth it to Dixon, though. She corrected it within the corner. Low line again through Horseshoe, but she manages to stay off that left-hand wall at the entrance to Telephone. 98.6. Again, not great speed relative to what we saw in the first run here, and the track is going to be getting faster.
In fact, that is slower than her first heat. She had 131.7 down at the bottom. Let's see if she can find some more.
Smooth entrances and exits of those corners there, Martin. She should be able to find some speed here. 132, a little bit better than her first run speed at the bottom of the track. Having some nice height at the end of Martineau, though, staying off that right-hand corner at the entrance to Portago.
1:11.31, 0.3 of a second faster than her first heat.
So the bottom of the track for her on her second descent was much better than the first, but she didn't have the kind of speed at the top, probably because of that bump coming down King 1 to King 2.
She and Lizzie Yarnold both using BlackRock British-built sleds.
Unusual name for Donna's, named Cletus here on the start there. She's really digging hard. Donna's one of the fastest pushers, gets over the crest nicely and uses that start ramp here. Coming out of Kink 1, takes that bump on the left-hand side there and then another one on the right before she gets it straight. That's not how to do it, and that's really why she didn't have the kind of speed coming out of Horseshoe that she needs to be competitive.
Donna Crichton will go into the leader's box. She is the first of our athletes to complete a second heat. Next up, Nozomi Komuro of Japan.
Well, my prediction of her being in 10th or 11th spot on her first run was grossly overstated because Nozomi's in 19th. But she did have a decent-looking run on her first run. Might have been steering a bit aggressively to achieve some of those lines. She's got to let it run out maybe a little bit more here on the second descent.
Well, she had a good run, but she was only 6th in the field of 29, so maybe the track was just slower when she was on it. This run might tell us.
That's true, too. If she can have another quality run like she put down last time, maybe she can take advantage of a bit better track here, but it's only going to play to the other athletes' favor who are in front of her, because it's, like we said, going to continue to speed up here.
5:35 first start. Ducour's built sled, 5:41, fraction slower.
Fairly smooth, keeping those runners straight, but she is drifting. She's adding a little bit of distance to the track, but she's not getting overreactive, and she's not doing too much to achieve, try and get back online there. She's letting those runners run straight.
Well, the layman might think that you've got to keep your sled rigidly under control. You've got to be really on top of it, but actually, perversely, the opposite is true.
It is true. You want to do just as little as possible without breaking out sideways, but if you've got a bit of a drift, you can actually, on this track, use your head instead of steering, allowing your wind speed on the one side of the helmet to pull you in the direction that you're looking for. Bit of a rough ride there.
Draws herself level with Donna Crichton, 96.8.
Not the kind of speed she wants, no.
She's a kilometre an hour quicker than that in the first run. She goes 2/10 back. A tap there will rob her of a 10th, and another one goes. 1:31.0 in the first heat, a kilometre an hour slower.
Bit of a rougher ride here on her second descent. Wishing she could have replicated her first, and with a 1:11.91, she's going to fall half a second behind Donna Crichton, your current race leader.
Well, Donna went 1/3 of a second quicker. Nozomi's gone 1/3 of a second slower, and that leaves her in danger of dropping out the top 20 overnight.
That's not where you want to be. And if you drop out of the top 20 on your third descent, you don't get a fourth. Coming here at Horseshoe, you can see she gets low way too soon. The pressure comes back, and she gets shot out the end a little bit, and she turns her sled too soon, down too low, and then there's nowhere to go but back up.
So the left foot dragging hard to try and avoid that.
Oh,
Koshi-san.
animated Koshi Kazuhiro, great former slider, and you can see that it's written all over his face there that didn't have the kind of run that he was hoping to see from his athlete.
Day one done then for Nozomi Komuro. Next up, Lucy Chaffer of Australia. Again, slightly, I don't know, disappointing start. Only 21st out of the blocks with a 5.47 start. I thought maybe she might be a little quicker than that. Let's see if she's got more in the second heat.
Lucy's on the exact same kind of sled that your current race leader is on a Bromley Tech sled that she got on last season. It didn't have a quality first descent, so let's see if she can pick it up here. 53.7 start speed, that's not bad. Doing a good job of keeping her runners straight. and not overworking to achieve that smooth line.
Well, faster run, more momentum in the first corner, and slightly tidy looking slide as well.
Bit high there off the end of Snake 2. Had a small drift right. Coming out there, had to do a little bit of work to get it back, but she's 2/10 in the lead now. Let's see if she can maintain that heading and carry that speed out of Horseshoe here. Getting it high, dragging her toe quite a lot.
And her chin as well. You can hear a lot of chattering as the chin's on the ice.
Stretching her margin to 4/10 of a lead, coming out with the fastest speed we've seen out of Horseshoe. Much better run, more what we expected from Lucy. 6/10 in the lead at this point, drifting a little bit to the right, coming out of these 4 right-hand turns at the bottom of the track here.
Just listen to the sled whistle past, 132.2 kilometers an hour, over a kilometer quicker than her first heat. So again, she'll save at least 1/3 of a second, in fact 8/10 quicker.
1:10.73 would have been good enough for 11th or 10th place on her first descent, so she would have been just in front of...
Which is where she would probably have expected to be in any World Cup field, and I was genuinely surprised she was so low down in Heat 1.
Right around Catherine Eustace on her first heat, and that's really where she should have been. So she tidies things up here on her second run, coming into Horseshoe, nice and late, but she drags her toe. Look at her foot there, dragging her toe the whole way around the corner. She really needed to let it get high before she dropped that toe and changed that sled angle. Drifting here at the bottom of the track, trying to bring it back early when she's countering, which means you're coming back early for the next corner. She breaks it out, saying hello to her family there.
Family in Perth, Western Australia. Yelena Nikitina, the Junior World Champions family, are watching, I'm sure, at home in Moscow, live on Russian television. Just turned 21 years old about 10 days ago. She's had 4 race wins at the Austrian Track of Eagles in the last calendar 6 weeks. Junior World Championships, 2 Intercontinental Cup races, and she won the last World Cup race there 10 days ago.
Just a spring chicken in terms of the potential that she's got in her sliding career. She's dragging and kicking that toe again before she's even out of the groove. She's getting really aggressive with that. The result isn't as bad this time as it was on the first run. She's skidding and bumping around. When you do take a knock, those walls aren't really even on the sides because they're not made from concrete. They're just shaped with a shovel and snow. They can really send you for a loop if you happen to clip one, and she did. She did a good job of managing it, though. Skidding there through Snake 1, Snake 2. You could hear her runners making that scraping noise coming off that corner, and she's going to be struggling to have the same kind of heading as Lucy Schaffer did here on her second descent.
Well, this is a very different track from the one she's had so much success on at Eagles in Austria, but what other tracks would be like St. Moritz?
There really isn't a comparison. She got a little bit slower speed coming out of Horseshoe on that first descent, but she had a nice, really high line using that slingshot effect. 700ths, her margin is falling back. Let's see if she can maintain this heading to stay in front of Lucy to the finish line.
Lucy Schaffer, 132.2. Yelena Nikitina, 133 kilometers an hour. Should just be enough to keep her nose in front.
Better than Lucy through those 4 right-hand turns there. She's going to keep the lead and stretch her margin to 1100ths of a second.
Immediately spreads the toes out to try and slow herself down, and the sidewalls. Getting these things stopped is not that easy, John.
It's sometimes one of the most challenging aspects of the sport and where you get injured the most, and you saw that in Eagles with people smashing that wall, really trying to slow their sleds down, and what's what they use that foam for. It doesn't wreck the runners, but it allows you to come to a bit of a more abrupt stop at the end. Yelena here running over the crest, bit of a heavy load here. Now watch her kick her toe. She's not even out of the groove yet. Kicking and dragging that toe, which is serving no purpose but to slow her down there. Her coach should watch this video and tell her to maybe just relax till she's out of the groove. Nice, really high line there. Changes her sled angle as she comes down the second half of that corner and had a nice smooth entry into telephone.
Just 300ths of a second off the start record set by teammate Maria Oliver in the first heat. And next up is Marina Giardoni of Italy, of Switzerland, beg your pardon, and another classic mistake always led astray by her surname. Third fastest starter, and again, she is one of the big speed merchants at the top of this track.
And she is PO'd. Somebody took her start. Oh, no! And a misstep there is going to just crush her opportunity to challenge for that 5:23 start record that Maria Orlova took from her on the first run. And with a 5:46, Ms. Giardoni is going to be some upset and no opportunity to find that speed here at the top of the track. She's going to have a beautiful run just to maintain her position at this point.
Well, you use not half a dozen track spikes, but lots of little needles, 400 odd, and it's easy to get them packed with ice at the start area.
And it looks like she might have just sort of caught her foot on the edge of the groove there. Some of the athletes run on top of the grooves, and if you have a misstep, if you get your spikes into one of those grooves, you can twist an ankle, you can lose traction, as we just saw from Maria here. And she's 2300s back, having a decent looking run, 99.2, slower than Lucy Schaffer out of Horseshoe, but Lucy had some problems at the bottom of the track, and Ms. Giardoni here to take advantage of that. And she knows this track better than anybody, Martin, and she might be able to find some of the speed. That 2/10 deficit that she's presently got, that's where Lucy went wrong, and Ms. Giardoni's doing it right, 133.9. She might be able to erase this 1300ths of a deficit here before the finish line, coming across in, oh, second place.
Well, she just fails to hold her spot. There's Coach Mickey Grumberger.
And what could have been, Martin, that was a really well-executed run here. Good speeds at the bottom of the track, but if it wasn't for that 5:46, which is over at least 2/10 of a second, what she could have had, she would have been your race leader by a nice margin.
He asked me his favorite question again this morning. Look at this start.
Let's see, right there on the groove, exactly as I predicted. She stepped on the groove, lost so much traction, and for her to push a 5:46 after only being able to take advantage of maybe a dozen steps on the start is really indicative of how she is a strong starter.
Elena Nikitina, fastest starter. She currently leads.
Oh, she's mad. She's chuffed about that one.
So next up is Janine Flock of Austria, 10th fastest start for her. Her athleticism is coming on in leaps and bounds this season. Former world champion Martin Rettel keeping the sled moving, something you don't often see at most tracks, but when it's so cold here in St. Moritz, you don't want anything to slow you down in the start.
5:35 for her on her first getaway. 5:32, she picks it up by 300ths of a second. Really nice exit of kink 1, coming early into kink 2 like she needs to do. And smooth out of there. Looking good coming down to wall here. Oh, getting a bit active on the steering there, twisting and turning. It's going to be nice and middle into snake 1 here, so she can get the height over across the snake 2 early and line up her sunny entrance with a nice smooth entry. 400ths in the lead right now. Running around Nash Dixon there, a little bit low through Horseshoe, flop off the end. She's probably not going to have the same speed, 98.8 compared to the 100 that we saw from Lucy Schaffer and Ms. Nikitina here on the first descent. 300's back now. She's got her work cut out for her just to stop the bleeding here at the bottom of the track with a bit of a skid there. Between bridge and leap, coming out of Sachs Gunta and late into Martineau, which is not a bad line. You want to be able to get high, get low, and then on that second pressure, take it high again so you can come out down the middle.
She keeps it neat at the bottom, but still gives away 2/10 of a second to Yelena Nikitina, the race leader. So 1:11.15 slides. She slid 1:11.23 in the first heat, John, not really reflecting the fact that the track is probably still offering more speed.
No, a couple mistakes there. Didn't allow her to get the kind of speeds that she was hoping for and to be able to maintain her position. 2/10, though, behind the race leader and 4 spots back tells you that there's some pretty tight competition through there. Really low through the end of Horseshoe, gets picked back up and a bit floppy off of the end. You can see her getting picked back up by the corner there, and then when the pressure's done, she's got nowhere to go but down and hard across the telephone.
That second shot makes it look really uncomfortable there, doesn't it, in Horseshoe? There's Yelena, your leader. Easy for me to say. Next up at the top of the track is Germany's Katharina Heinz. Start draw 13, a third of the way through the field. Still just 25 years old, former junior world champion and multiple junior German world champion. Won the Intercontinental Cup, the second tier of sliding in the 2009-10 season pre-Whistler.
Some kind of a pixie dust fairy painted on the back of her helmet there. I'm not sure what that's representative of. I should ask her. She does the right thing there with dropping her toe after she's out of the groove. Nice exit of kink 1, lined up nicely for kink 2. Doing very little work. You can see the kind of clearance that these German sleds have from the ice, different than some of the other sleds on tour. They're quite high off the ground. Coming out of wall, and into snake one, right in the middle where she wants to be. You can hear her toes dragging just a little bit. She's not steering with them, they're just getting a little bit relaxed and dragging on the ice, not causing her to lose any speed.
23rd start in the first heat, and she was no quicker this time, so it shows how much better she's driving than she's starting.
And another low line through Horseshoe, where the pressure comes back at the end, throwing her out the end, and the result factor is 98.9 kilometers an hour, which isn't nearly enough to find the speed at the bottom of the track that she's going to need to overtake Elena Nicotina.
Yeah, slower than her first heat, and in fact the downtime may not be as quick as her first heat. Are we seeing more mistakes, or is the track at 133.5? She had 133.7 in the first heat, so she still found a lot of speed out of those final 4 corners, but not enough to take the lead.
Every part of her run was great except the exit of Horseshoe, and you need that exit to be able to slingshot you down the track and take advantage of that speed you generate out of Horseshoe to amplify itself at the bottom.
Do you take your heart in your mouth when you go up to the woodwork for the first time?
Well, I smashed the roof earlier in training this week, and she doesn't even get close there on the second run. Really low, and then what potentially in the past would have been another roof hit there at the end of the corner, just spits her out the end. They've made it a little bit safer here, but you can see the pressure building here, brings her back up, and just spits her out the end. And that was the only mistake she made on that run, but didn't allow her to maintain her position right now.
So race still being led by Elena Nicotina, who's already picked up 4 spots. Next up is her teammate Svetlana Vassilieva, formerly Svetlana Trunova. Married, or started her family, had a baby 3 seasons ago, and has been gradually returning to form. A little like Maya Pedersen, the former world champion, Shelley Rudman, Noel Piker's pace, so many sliding moms.
Getting ready to experience the joy of competing in a home Olympics. Getting her sled a little bit through kink 1 there and drifting to the right. Not an ideal line, but she did a good job of navigating it, staying off the short walls. Really smooth. She had a beautiful top section of the track here on her first descent, and this isn't the same on her second, but nice through kink 2 to wall.
Runner's coming straight towards us, and she had the best first corner momentum of anybody so far.
Bit of a drift there and skid out of snake 2 into Sunny. She does have 3/10 plus of a lead at this point.
Well, Svetlana on the bottom in the green shows she is in front on time at each of the splits.
Nice line through Horseshoe. Let's see what kind of speed she's got. 99.7, not the fastest we've seen, but definitely competitive.
She's only just staying in front, 4/10 up at the moment on teammate Elena Nicotina, who had 133.0 at the bottom.
Almost 5/10 now. She's pulling away. Doing a good job of navigating the bottom of the track. She's not on the same kind of sled as her teammate. 130.15, a slower speed than we saw from Nicotina, but not enough to lose the margin that she's got right now.
Well, she was half a second up, and she's 4/10 in front at the line, a 110.69 slide, and that is 4/10 of a second better than she managed in the first heat. And again, we're looking at times that would have led her in 8th place in the first heat, rather than the 13th in which she found herself.
And that might just be the result of a quickening track, and we'll see when we get down to number 8 how much faster the track actually is.
But again, she had a low start position. She was only 11th, so...
Doing the judo chop that we see the Germans sometimes do in corners like Horseshoe, but drifting a little bit out of kink 1 down to kink 2, but she pieced it together well after that. Steering hard at the finish line here, dragging her toe. I saw her drop it there at the finish line, trying to stay off the wall before the timing eye at the very end.
Well, there's Svetlana sending love back home to the family.
From Russia with love.
Indeed. Next up, from Canada with love, Cassie Haresh, using a lighter tinted visor for the first time. It's a little bit cloudier in the training days than it is today. It's quite bright, but she's going with what she knows, which, John, has got to be sensible, I suppose.
Yeah, you stick with what you know, and honestly, when you're sliding, you're not considering what color your vision is as you're descending the track. You're really concentrating on that next inch in front of your nose. You get ahead of that or behind that, you're not going to be doing what you're capable of.
Last year's America's Cup champion, rather, won 4 of the races, never off the podium.
Only her 3rd year in competition, doing really well to have the success that she's done this year. Picking up the sport quite quickly. The gifted athlete from volleyball and track and field has a really nice 50 meters down to wall. See what her splits are here. Bit skiddy through snake 1, snake 2. She came in a little bit late into S1. She's dropped her margin. She's only 100th in the lead here now. Late again into Nash-Dixon, and she takes that bump this time. She didn't navigate it as well as she did last time, but still the same exit. Nice and high. Really nice line through there, but she's not going to have the speed. 100.1, she does have the speed. What could have been had she had a better line through Sunny and Nash and Dixon.
Yeah, that's what she'll be focusing on. John Montgomery, the Olympic champion, watching teammate Cassie Haresh striving for the lead. Can she get back into the green? She is still tied.
Another good bottom, 133.6 Martin for speed at the bottom of the track is definitely competitive with what we've seen come down the track so far. She was 134 on the first run. Wow. Coming across, 110.75, 2400ths in the bank.
Tied out a tree, she opens up a quarter of a second in the fastest part of the track.
And she's got a lot more to improve on there. That section through Sunny down to Horseshoe. She's going to be happy that she's still in first and increased her margin, but she's going to be disappointed that she didn't nail that relatively easier part of the track from Sunny down to Horseshoe. Right here, she comes out of Sunny, counters too much and goes dead late into Nash-Dixon. Too high in Nash, and the bump before Dixon. She could have had much better speed than 100 coming out of Horseshoe. She could have been probably 101.5. And she does take a really nice line through Horseshoe here, getting it to the roof, and then turning the sled, doing little work to bring it down, and nice and easy into telephone.
There's Cassie, your race leader. And yeah, standout rookie season for her this year in Europe. Next up, Olga Potylitsina, who started her rookie World Cup season last year with victory in the opening race of the year, and has not yet managed to repeat that.
Drops those toes and takes a pretty nice line through kink 1 there, doing that pretty aggressive toe chop to turn the sled angle, but that's much better than skidding and hitting down those straightaways. So if that's what's going to cost you to get that line, it's probably well worth it.
Good momentum as well for the Russian girl, 54 kilometers an hour.
A little bit early into snake 1 there, and you saw like some of the other athletes skidding into snake 2. There's that fine line of getting that transition between those two corners just right so that your runners don't skid. Nice high line, but coming down hard and across the telephone. You saw Cassie get up there and not steer as hard as Olga did here and maintained that heading and trajectory into telephone. And maybe that's the key, is to not steer too aggressively in Horseshoe to bring yourself across too soon.
Half a second up. Let's see what speed she's got at the bottom. Cassie Haresh, the leader, 133.6. Olga Potylitsina has 132, so the gap will come down maybe by a 1/10 of a second. 82 miles an hour down to the final corner. They're still accelerating through that speed trap, by the way. So 3200s, and Cassie is absolutely right. 2 more runs.
It is not over until the fat lady sings, and there's going to be all kinds of leapfrogging here in the next, well, the final of the second run and the 2 more that follow tomorrow.
Yeah, and we're expecting slightly different weather conditions tomorrow as well, just to add insult to injury.
High line here, just like Cassie, through Horseshoe, but she's higher a bit later, steering down at this point, and she crosses more aggressively into telephone, taking that bump before there.
Well, John, you know, that's a variance of 100th of a second between getting it perfect and hitting the wall. There is our race leader, Olga Potylitsina of Russia. Cassie Haresh of Canada lies second, from Svetlana Vasilyeva in 3rd spot. That's the first 10 of our 29 sleds down in St. Moritz.
Meine Damen und Herren, nach den ersten 10 Athletinnen haben wir folgenden Zwischenstand. Olga Potylitsina, Russland führt 2:21,21 vor Cassie Haresh, Rückstand 32 Hundertstel. Auf Platz 3 Svetlana Vasilyeva, Rückstand 56 Hundertstel. Platz 4 Elena Nikitina, Russland, Rückstand 96 Hundertstel. Platz 5 Marina Girardoni, Rückstand 1:05. Platz 6 Lucy Chapman, Rückstand 1:07. Platz 7 Katharina Heinz, Rückstand 1:17. Zeitgleich mit Janine Flock, auch Janine Flock, Platz 7, Rückstand 1:17. Platz 9 Donna Creighton, 1,75 Rückstand und Platz 10. Nozomi Komuro aus Japan, Rückstand 2,31.
Let's go, Cass.
Meine Damen und Herren, das Rennen geht in Kürze weiter. In der Startboxe macht sich bereit die Startnummer 12, 10. Rang nach dem ersten Lauf. Die Neuseeländerin Catherine Justisch. At the box now, Catherine Justisch, New Zealand, ready to go. Catherine Justisch, New Zealand, the run is clear.
Second of 4 heats of the Women's Skeleton World Championship in St. Moritz, 37-year-old Kiwi Catherine Eustace, 10th after heat 1, getting ready to blast off. Martin Haven and John Montgomery watching. The oldest woman in the field, but John's still one of the outright fastest starters.
She is, and she's taken advantage of these custom spikes that she's built for herself. You'll see most of the other athletes using the Adistar spikes that Adidas builds for us, but Catherine's taken it upon herself to take a brush plate off another shoe and put it on a sprinting spike, maybe for a little bit more rigid sole on. Good getaway, nice looking lines down from kink 1 down the wall. Tricky section of the track, she pieced it together well. Smooth into S1, and one of the better lines we've seen through there. Took it across nicely to S2 and didn't have that skidding. She is a 10th back right now.
She was 100th in front of current race leader Olga Potylitsina and started a couple of hundreds slower.
Nice high line there, doing minimal work. Really beautiful exit.
Still
She's off that left-hand wall. She's got a 10th back, but with 101 speeds, she's going to have an opportunity to pick back that 10th that she's lost at the top of the track here and put it together at the bottom. Slipping down to 2 100ths of a difference between Polopatina and Eustace here.
This is where her height and weight count for her. She accelerates quicker than the lighter girls.
Yes, 133.3 at the bottom. In the lead, and she will stay there. She will be your new race leader by 1800ths of a second over Olga Polopatina.
133, great speed at the bottom of the track, over 83 miles an hour. With her chin dragging on the ice, Catherine Eustace, the race leader.
Really 2 consistent runs from Catherine. She's got to be happy with that. Good execution of her lines. Good starts at the top of the track. We've seen from her in a couple weeks past where she's had some ineffectual last steps, and it looks like she didn't do that today just once.
Well, she was 4,500ths quicker than the first run, so how much is her and how much is track, John?
Tough to tell at this point, but I suspect that a good margin of that is definitely the track, because she did have a really tidy first run as well as a tidy second run. So I'm thinking that it's probably just reflective of the fact that the track is speeding up itself.
Well, we always say there's 3 elements. There's the push, the drive, and the aerodynamics, but also there's the consistency, and the consistency, and those are the hard 3 things to find.
Yes, if you can put it all together, you got a perfect recipe for a champion.
Marion Thies of Germany had the first choice of start position in Heat 1. She went for 29th and last in the field. The reverse of what you would do at any artificial track is what you try and do in St. Moritz, go later in the heats. And she is in 8th place, tied with Sarah Reed of Canada as a result.
It's moving day for Marion. She's got to find some spots. She's 1,300ths back already at the start just because of her deficiency on the push. But she'll find that, and she's looking for more at the bottom of the track.
23rd fastest start in Heat 1, drove herself into 8th place, and that exactly shows you the 2 parts of her game, which is the more important.
We've got to see speeds of her exceeding 102 kilometers an hour exiting Horseshoe and approaching 138 at the bottom of the track if she hopes to pick up some spots. Already 3,300s back. She hasn't started to pick away at the deficit yet. She's still losing ground.
She digs herself into a hole at the start and then has to try and claw her way out all the way down.
That was a tidy line there, 101.5, not the 102 that she needs, but it'll be enough to find some speed here.
Whisker faster than her first heat. Down at the bottom, she had 134.5 last time down. That was getting on for an hour ago. How much has she found this time? 134.8.
Not the kind of speeds she needs, Mark.
Tiny increments. This is not going to throw her anywhere near the medals unless there's a slew of crashes coming up.
And she drops a spot, a 10th back behind Catherine Eustace, which is, for Catherine, got to be pretty exciting to beat one of the best sliders in the world.
And she was a 10th in front of Catherine after the first heat, so the overall deficit is 0.2 of a second on just that run.
Just that single descent. Coming here, a little bit of a stranger line into Horseshoe. She takes it in early, drives it up, and then turns her sled here. She has a nice exit, but coming in early doesn't allow her, and doing that work to take it to the roof, doesn't allow her to be as fast.
So Marion Thies, double world champion, is currently lying in second spot with our fastest 8 athletes still to come. Marion was tied with Canada's Sarah Reid in the first heat, so Sarah with, again, a slightly disappointing start. We really expected her to be among the top 6. She was only 13th with a 5.37, so...
That's a shocker. She should be down around, you know, 1, 2, 3 kind of start speeds. See if she gets on a little bit earlier this time. She still ran it really deep. Let's see what kind of a push start she gets. 5.27, that's much better. Not sure what happened to her on her first one, but the 5.27 is what Sarah Reid is capable of and what she's going to need to pick away at some of these women in front of her at this point in time. Nice looking lines here down from kick to the wall, doing absolutely no work to achieve that straight, smooth line.
1/10 of a second faster at the start, half a kilometre an hour quicker in the first speed trap. That all worked so much better for her.
Smooth through S1 through S2, but had the exit of the corner a bit of a skid and another small skid at the exit of Sunny here.
Distinctive sound from the Bromley sleds as well, a sort of swooshing noise you get from them.
Yeah, they're smooth. 101.8 for speeds. Best so far this heat. She's still in the lead. She's got the green.
Nearly a kilometre an hour quicker than her last run. She was 1:32.6 at the bottom.
No small mistakes at the top of the track. She's going to be able to find more speed on her third descent tomorrow. Small brush there, but much better than her last run where she got over onto the right-hand side there. 4/10. This is really what she needed on her first run. She's got it here in the second. She's going to pull away. 109.86 with a half-second margin over Catherine Eustace. Coach Duff Gibson happy to see that smile on his face, and you'll see one on Sarah's face too as she checks out her time.
That is the second fastest run we have seen down the track so far today. That, if she could have found that in the first heat, would have left her in second to leader Shelley Rubban.
Part of this is threefold: the start, a better run, and a faster track, which allows Sarah to be that much more competitive. Really powerful athlete. That's what we should have seen on her in her first run. I couldn't have told you at the time where her problem was on her first push, but she has a small brush here, out of leap, just before Saxgunta at the bottom of the track, and she's got places where she can find even more time here in her third and fourth heats tomorrow.
Next up then, Maria Oliver of Russia, start record holder, 5.23 seconds in heat 1. The track will be less frosty, more free-flowing, and we're going to see the record go again.
Really powerful athlete here, driving hard, getting well over the crest. Really effectual last step, should punch up her start velocity. 5:30, not as fast, 700 slower than her first one. And part of her lead over Sarah Reid has already been diminished just by the start.
Well, she had 54.3 kilometres an hour in the first corner, the fastest in the field, 53.9 this time, so not actually as quick as Sarah Reid.
No, the start velocity will be down. Nice line through there. A little better than Sarah's as far as some of the skidding was concerned, but she's already 2/10 back because of her start deficit.
Numbers in the red show that the Russian is losing in every sector at the moment to race leader Sarah Reid.
High line and a brush there. That's going to make this nearly impossible for her to catch Sarah or even hold her position for a couple athletes.
Showering photographer Charlie Booker with ice there on the exit of Horseshoe. She's 6/10 down and they're sinking like a stone, John.
Oh, she is falling way back. She's going to be hoping just to maintain a 5th or 6th ranking here on her second run. 1:29, almost the slowest speed we've seen in the second heat.
Skidding everywhere, horrible looking run, and you wonder whether her runners have now moved out of where they are best.
Well, and that's kind of telltale for her season. She's usually had one good run, and then the second run being less consistent. So it's sort of the story of her season this year.
Well, the only time that didn't happen was in Eagles Austria last World Cup race. She finally got 2 smoking runs, got herself a bronze medal. But yes, that's a very valid comment. She's not quite been able to find the consistency.
Well, and next week when she's going to a home track in Sochi, Russia, she's going to have that competitive advantage and a level of familiarity. You see her coming out of Horseshoe here with a decent-looking line. Doesn't get a really hard cross, but then at the last second gets shot really hard across and bumps before telephone just because she had late height there, late pressure.
Michelle Steele of Australia was in 6th position after the first heat. Let's see if she can find a little bit more pace here. 26-year-old from tropical Queensland. Didn't race at all in the 2011-12 season. Returned to skeleton this year.
And with her two-handed start, watch her get over the crest here. She's able to hold up her entire body with both hands, power into the ice, and watch how much she drove on her last step there, allowing her to have really great start velocities without necessarily the fastest start time. And a 5:32 is the 7th fastest so far, but with a 54.2, she's got the fastest start velocity in the second heat simply because of her two-handed push.
Runners who start a 1/10 of a second quicker don't have that velocity, and so much of this sport, John, for the athlete is about comfort zone.
It is. She's comfortable with that two-handed push, and she knows. We've done some studies as to what's more important, the push time or the push velocity, and it is without question the push velocity. You cannot find speed that otherwise isn't there. You've got to let gravity do it for you, and she creates her own at the start.
1600s up out of Sunny. Now she starts to open up again. That looked like a nice exit from Horseshoe as well. 101.2, good speed.
She's got the speed to maintain her lead over Sarah Reed at this point, and as slight as she is, she's got great aerodynamics, keeping those shoulders down, linking up those corners beautifully at the bottom of the track. She's on the exact same sled as Sarah Reed, a Bromley Tech sled.
133.4 last time, 134.5. That's a big improvement.
Her margin is slipping a little bit, but she will still have the lead crossing the finish line here with a 1/10 of a second in front of Sarah Reed.
So Sarah waves goodbye from the leader's box. A 1:10.03 slide from Michelle Steele. Again, 3400s better than her first trip, so tidying it all up and then getting dumped on her backside.
What a dismount. You can see the smile on her face. It didn't hurt, but it might be somewhat embarrassing.
As well. Yeah. Well, as long as it doesn't hurt, you'll take that and go in the leader's box with a smile and an icy backside.
We don't get style points for our dismount at the end, but if you did, that'd be a 10 right there. Coming down, Nash Dixon into Horseshoe here. Nice middle line. Angled late, so you can see her sled is pointed into the corner here. Allows the sled to climb, gets early height, and smooth off the end. She knows when to quit steering out of that corner. Sarah gives her a hug, two smallest athletes on tour. Only a 1/10 separates them, moving into run 3 and 4 tomorrow.
Michelle Steele of Australia leads from Sarah Reed and Catherine Eustace. We still have our fastest 5 to go, including Canada's Melissa Hollingsworth. Let's see what the girl from Alberta can produce here.
Melissa has never won a race in St. Moritz. She has been always the bridesmaid to Shelley Rudman, being narrowly picked by a couple hundredths of a second. She's substantially back today, but she's going to be looking to try and make up some time here and make some moves on her second run. Nice line through kink 1 to kink 2, doing very little work.
3 career World Championship medals.
You are first at the moment.
Smooth line into S1. Let's listen to her sled. No scraping there. Some of the best line we've seen through S1, S2 today. Also known as Snake 1, Snake 2. Nice smooth lines here through Nash Dixon. See what she can do through Horseshoe. If she can get up and down with little work, she should have really great speeds.
The gap is 2/10 of a second, the speed 1:01.5, a little quicker than Michelle Steele of Australia.
Nice, smooth, flowy lines. You can hear very little scraping going on.
She's going to need 135 kilometers an hour, rather. Has she got it? Yes, she does.
Exactly. Good call, Martin. 1100s back. We should see this drop to single digits. 400s behind Michelle Steele at this point in time, dropping one spot, but like Duff says, that's okay, that's okay.
That is a close race. We have got a 1/10 of a second covering the top 3, Michelle Steele, Melissa Hollingsworth and Sarah Reed, and lots of very close gaps behind them.
Coming out of the bottom of the track here, just narrowly misses the entrance to Saxgunta. with a really great exit, 135 speed. Had she had that small nick there, she wouldn't have had the speed, and she would have had a greater deficit than 200ths of a second to Michelle Steele.
So 5th after the first heat, Melissa Hollingsworth lies 2nd at the moment, 2nd of 4 heats here in St. Moritz in the Women's Skeleton World Championships. Defending Women's Skeleton World Champion is American Katie Uhlaender. She won her title in a most dramatic race in Lake Placid last year. Former World Cup champion and America's Cup champion, now 28 years old, from Breckenridge, Colorado.
Katie used to be one of the most competitive starters on tour until some injuries set her back a little bit, but she's finding her form again on the start. With a start time of 5.38 It's not quite where she would like to be, I think, physically, but not bad at all.
Well, she's got a very distinctive sliding style. The classic aerodynamic style is having heels together. Katie always uses her knees apart much more as her way of keeping balance on the sled.
She does, and we've seen in the wind tunnel that it's not always the most efficient way to slide, and for Katie, with the kind of results that she's had historically, I suspect that it's probably the best way for her to set herself up on the sled. She's having some smooth lines here on her way down the track on her second descent.
A little bit of helmet scraping on the ice. 101.2 is good speed, 2nd quickest.
Competitive there. She's in the red right now, but if she can find some speed at the bottom of the track, she is continuing to lose ground, though, to Michelle Steele, and I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be at least a 2/10 margin back, and she might even drop behind Melissa Hollingsworth before the finish line.
Going behind Melissa at the moment, 134.2. Melissa was 135, so she will drop into 3rd, into 4th place at the line.
4th place.
Well, we so often expect to see big changes in the women's skeleton field, and it looks as though we are going to have one of those at the moment as well. 4th place for Katie Uhlaender, and she buries her face in disappointment there as she gets the sign. Zach Lund's the coach, former US slider. Katie with a new World Championship haircut, doesn't seem to have worked in this heat. Gets early height here in Horseshoe, drives it down the exit, like in any racing corner, so important. But the bump there, just as she starts to turn into Telephone, the right-hander that follows. It is Michelle Steele of Australia who is our race leader. And now the fastest 3 from the first heat are up here. Great Britain's Lizzie Arnold. There's Michelle Steele, the race leader. Lizzie Arnold 3rd after the first heat, took the bronze medal in her first senior World Championship outing in Lake Placid last year, and won the World Cup race here in St. Moritz last year in lots of snow. Olympic champion John Montgomery, young athlete with lots of natural speed.
Oh, it's incredible to watch her composure on her sled. Watch her form. Those shoulders never come off the sled. Her head's incredibly low, which is great for aerodynamics. And when she does get into sketchy situations, she's always really composed about it and is calm and not overreacting.
Well, Coach Mickey Grunberger always said that the Olympic champion, Amy Williams, like himself, had to work hard to be fast. He said Lizzie Arnold and Shelley Rudman, it just flows. They've got natural speed for whatever reason it is.
Calm in the head. That usually lends itself to being calm on the track. And you can see her doing very minimal work. Small toe skips here and there to maintain her turning and trajectory, keeping her form together. Nice high line through there. But a bump before Telephone is definitely going to compromise her speed. 100.5, what could have been probably 101.5. She's going to lose some of this 3/10 margin that she's got over Michelle Steele at this point. And whether she's got enough of a heading to stay that 2,500s in the lead here before the bottom and before the finish line is yet to be seen.
She needs 134.5, 134.4, just
got it.
a 10th quicker than she had on the last run. So she'll stay in the lead. 1:10.03, well, that's just about a 10th of a second better than her first heat.
Steele had a faster run, but because Lizzie had an advantage at the start, she still got it at the bottom of the track. And what could have been, she had that quite a significant hit out of Horseshoe into Telephone, but everywhere else was really clean, really nice. Lizzie's got to be happy with that.
Be a bit bruised after that.
She takes it to the roof here quite nicely, gets it high, but she hangs around a little bit late, so that means that she's got pressure at the end, and it's going to cross her hard into Telephone. She needs to be about a half sled lower, pointed towards the exit here. Up high, nowhere to go but across. Better than launching out, though, but that significant hit there Definitely hurts. With a natural track like we've got, bumpers dig in and you take the heat on your shoulder.
Lots of Kent Yarnalds here supporting our race leader, Lizzie Yarnold. Noel Piker's pace of the USA. There will have been lots of people back home watching this in Eagle Mountain, Utah, going, she is no longer from Orem. So heads up to Eagle Mountain, Utah. Second after the first of our 4 heats here.
This is our track record holder who had a blistering start in the team race last Saturday. Only athlete in the field today using that right-hand groove in the left groove, right-hand runner in the left groove, Scary. And she took a hit before Kink won, which is the threat of running over there.
Unique sled as well, the new Quest, built and designed by her husband. And John, you know the teething problems of designing your own equipment. They're still developing this every time they race it.
Do I ever? And you're always searching for that perfect setup. 2500s back is probably more to do with the mistakes that she had at the top of the track than it is equipment problems at this point, because she's been really comfortable all season long. To the roof, nice smooth line here. She's got some of the best lines through Horseshoe, and it's really repetitive, really consistent. 101.9, best speeds out of Horseshoe so far. She's going to be able to claw her way back over Lizzie Yarnold, who didn't have those kind of speeds and had a really profound hit out of Horseshoe. She's 1100s back, and I have a sneaking suspicion she's going to find it here at the bottom of the track and continue to take the lead. 300s there, 135.8. She's only going to stretch that margin further before the finish line here, coming across with a time of 110.04. 4th fastest time. A few mistakes on that run, but she keeps her 1500s lead over Lizzie Yarnold.
100 slower than Lizzie Yarnold, so the gap comes down by just the tiniest of margins. Noel Piker's pace the leader, with still our fastest slider from the first heat to come.
Couple mistakes on that run. She's going to be able to improve on runs 3 and 4 here. Coming out of Nash into Dixon, a bit of a drift and a skid. Not what she wants to set herself up for Horseshoe. The bottom of the track here, nice smooth line out of Leap into Saxgunta and coming right down the pipe into Martineau. What you want to do to be able to capitalize on your speeds, and 135.8 is the fastest we've seen in the second heat today.
Noel only agreed to return to sliding if she could find the budget to come with her husband and her 2 kids. And boy, what a return from retirement she has had. Shelley Rubman of Great Britain then, lying first after the first of 4 heats. And like Noel in the team race, laying down a run here that nobody else really got close to.
No, and they've been testing equipment all season long. We saw some flashes of brilliance, especially in Winterberg, Germany, where she beat the field by a second on a track where usually mere hundredths separates first from second, from third, from fourth. And I suspect that she saved some of that good stuff here for St. Moritz, where she has obliterated the field by more than half a second on the first run alone.
Well, she told me after that win that everybody at home been saying, what's going wrong? You haven't been on the podium, and they were getting a bit antsy about it. She went, okay, right, we'll put our race game on. Went out and won one. Now, could we please develop for the World Championships? And this is where they are. This has been the target all year, because this is what decides funding for next season, the Olympic run-in.
And that's what's important, and she has been calm like a bomb, Martin, from the top of the track down to Snake 1 and Snake 2 here. Great looking lines, no skids, smooth like butter. 77 hundredths of a lead already. She's pulling away from the field more and more with every corner that we pass. Coming out of Horseshoe, she's going to have 102, 103 for speeds here again. 8/10, 102.6. She's only going to continue to pull away from the athletes like Noel Piker's pace, who had some problems on her second descent here.
Speed at the bottom was 102.6 and then 137.2 from Shelley Rubman in Heat 1. Can she find any more?
She's perfect here today. 136.8. Slightly slower than her first descent, but man, oh man, that is another effortless run.
And that is actually quicker than her first run as well. My goodness, she found a few hundredths in the tank still.
Top of the track is probably where it's speeding up. And she wasn't as fast at the bottom, but a second of a lead after 1 day of competition.
Wow.
It's hers to lose tomorrow, for real.
My goodness. Well, that, I mean, we do talk about the fact that gaps vary in skeleton, but the consistency, she has found it with this second run, John Montgomery.
This is a run that looks a lot like a Martins Duker's run. Effortless, doing very little to achieve the lines that she's after. Really high here, doing very little to steer out. Smooth as silk into telephone, staying off those walls. didn't touch a wall anywhere, and really didn't look like she was doing a whole lot to achieve the lines that she was looking for.
And that's the secret. She lay there, did absolutely nothing, and just came out fastest. Now, if everybody could unlock that secret, they'd be a lot happier. Shelley Rudman, then, is our race leader after 2 of 4 heats in the Bauhaus FIBT Women's Skeleton World Championships. She has a second advantage over Noelle Piker's pace. Lizzie Arnold in 3rd place, Michelle Steele, Melissa Hollingsworth, Sarah Reed in a tight little clutch behind, with Katie Eulander and Catherine Eustace also challenging, and some very close gaps further on down the field. First 20 of our 29 sleds have completed their second run. The remainder are yet to come. We'll catch up with our fast 3 in a moment and find out what they thought about day 1's action here in St. Moritz. Well, John Montgomery, plenty to ponder about. When you see a run from a Martins Ducourt, okay, let's get up now. In fact, with the other John Morgan is down with our top 3.
Lizzie, 3rd place after 2 runs. You happy with both runs?
I've got a lot of work to do. I think I can really improve for tomorrow, and it's a track that I'm always learning on. I don't have a lot of experience here, but from today, the weather, the track is all going really well, all to plan.
Well, congratulations. Have a good night's sleep. And now over to Noelle. Curve 1 wasn't real much of your friend today, huh?
No, I'm the only one going with my left runner in the right groove, and so the angle isn't the best, but I just don't want to risk popping out. I've seen people pop out here quite a bit, so I just wanted to play it safe.
It's not bad. 2nd place. Shelley, you've won on this track numerous times. Could you think you could have done 2 better trips than you just did?
Yeah, I think there's always room for improvement. I'm quite picky when it comes to my runs, so I'll be going back to the drawing board, having a look at a few curves that I didn't think went so well, but so far I'm quite happy with it as well.
Congratulations. 2 mothers in the lead here.
Yeah, go mums. Well, ever the criticism, and you know, I was almost about to say what Shelley's done makes the coach's job redundant, but John Montgomery, nothing's ever perfect for an athlete.
No, and especially these top competitive athletes, you're always searching for more, and nothing's ever good enough because you know that you've got it within you to have that always elusive perfect run, and Shelley is still looking for it here, even with a 2nd advantage.
Well, Shelley Rudman leads overnight by a 2nd, but day 2 could see everything change in St. Moritz. Well, she looks pretty happy with that. But her rivals, I mean, this is part of the issue, John, is that you know that the others aren't going to be happy and going to be coming out all guns blazing tomorrow. So if you relax in your 2nd lead, you might come off the 3rd slide, find that you don't have a lead at all.
Well, and that's always the risk that you run here, is that you've always got these really exceptional athletes who maybe made some mistakes that you didn't make, and they're going to be coming for it on the 3rd and 4th runs tomorrow.
Well, next up is Maria Mazalou of Romania, 21st spot, and she was not that far out of a top 20 position, and if she can get into the 20 overnight, then that will give her a little bit more relaxation when she's going to sleep, because she doesn't want to drop out the top 20 for the 3rd run.
Well, she's got a real opportunity here today because Donna Creighton was first off in the 2nd heat, so Maria Mazalou has much faster ice than Donna did right now, so she can definitely pull in front of her and get into that top 20 for 3 and 4 tomorrow.
Katerina Heinz in 17th with Janina Flock, and Donna Creighton at 19th and Nozomi Kumuro 20th might be the ones with a little bit of worry, because as you say, the faster ice, we've got Anya Huber, who's got no place being outside the top 20. You've got to at least hope, if not guarantee, that she'll be in the top 20 come tomorrow morning.
Well, Donna, Nozomi, and Lucy, they're on the bubble, and unfortunately they are going to be on the receiving end of the bad ice that St. Moritz has to offer, because it's always increasing in speed as the day goes along, and Ms. Mazalou, I don't think, is capitalizing on this opportunity right now here with a bit of a wild ride on her 2nd run.
In 19th place at the moment, so she has just crept in. 15th fastest run, a 1:10.98. That leaves her in the top 20, and it means Nozomi Kumuro, at the moment at least, is in 21st place. Donna Creighton 20th. So there'll be things that they'll have learned from the first heat, John Montgomery, that they'll adapt their slide, and they get the benefit of slightly faster ice too.
And they're off at the same time tomorrow, so they can really take what they've learned today and put some stock in it for tomorrow, because it's going to be similar ice conditions. And Maria here with a bit of drifting at the bottom of the track, she's going to be hoping to clean that up and runs 3 and 4 tomorrow.
Yeah, would you be able to find out, Dave?
So Shelley Rudman, Nell Piker's Pace, Lizzie Arnold, the top 3. Maria Mazzalou moves up 3 spots with her second run. And the chance now, again, Joska LeConte, really, you've got to think, should be in the top 20 in a World Championship field. She was 22nd after the first heat, but again, only 10th off at the start of the run, so got the some of the slowest ice there was.
And maybe she's a mad genius, has been playing this as a tactic to be able to be 20th or 21st after the first run, so that she can have much better ice on her second track, looking to pick off some of those people at the back of the pack, get moved up to maybe as much as 15th here on the second run.
You never know, she might have been aiming to be first and just not quite hit the target, who knows.
I suspect you're probably right.
53.9 kilometers an hour is good momentum.
Really nice looking top of the track here. Got some good lines, not hearing any skidding from her runners. Doing little work to link up those exits and entrances. Bit of a low line through Horseshoe.
Well, now she had a horrible exit out of Horseshoe, only 97 kilometers an hour the last time. 98 this time's a little better.
And she was really good at the bottom of the track on her first run, so if she can have a kind of performance she did on her first run here on her second, she's going to find some spots for sure.
Just edges away from the wall, and that's vital for speed. 1:32, 2 kilometers an hour quicker than her first run.
Yes, everything is pointing towards go here. She's going to find some spots.
20th spot, so she moves up a couple. And that means Donna Crichton is 21st now. Well, John, that was 89 hundredths of a second better than her first heat. So tidying things up plus quicker ice equals go faster.
She didn't get shot out of the end of Horseshoe like she did on her first run, and she had another good-looking start here, gets it over the crest, continues to accelerate downhill. And she was pretty tidy everywhere. This is where she ran into trouble on her first run. She was really low here at the very end, and now this time she does a better job of navigating that corner, doesn't get shot out like she did on the first run, and finds that speed at the bottom of the track as a result.
Joska LeConte into the top 20. Next up, Lelda Prietulina of Latvia. 23rd spot off a 19th fastest start, but again, 8th at the first run, so didn't get the greatest of ice.
Drifting a little bit here at the top. Oh, and she touches that wall and gets shot over. Does really quite a nice job of controlling that hit. But that's the kind of stuff that's just torturous for bleed speed at the top of the track.
Well, that's a shame, because she was a 10th of a second faster with her start, so that could have given her real momentum.
Good looking line through the S-curves. Smooth into Sunny. Really a tidy top of the track here, except for that brush off that sidewall to the exit of Kink 1. Nice line through Horseshoe here, but you see that hard cross out of the end of Horseshoe when athletes come down too aggressively at the end of the corner there.
She's a kilometre and up on her previous best speed. She had 1:30.7 at the bottom. Whistling through, you see the bobsleigh athletes already doing their track walks.
They can really get a good bird's eye view of the track here when you can walk along these snow-carved short walls that you see all along the track here. Get really close to the action, and she comes across in 22nd spot and stays in 22nd spot. 4.41 seconds behind your race leader, Shelley Rudman, at this point in the game.
Well, she upped her start by a 10th and improved her whole run by half a second, but not enough to make up more than 1 spot over Nozomi Komuro.
Nice high line here through Horseshoe. Steering down, she comes across at the end and aggressively gets pointed off that corner and into telephone. That's a mistake that we can see a number of the athletes have made today.
Big groove opening up in that wall where the shoulders are getting into it. There is one of our youngest athletes, and here's one of our most experienced, Anja Huber of Germany. Former world champion, won the title in 2008. And John, you were saying in the first heat, really hurt her toe quite badly yesterday, catching it in a big hole in the ice wall up in Horseshoe left by the 4-man bobsleds.
And I don't know if we can attribute that disappointing first run to the injury that she sustained, because she did have a 5:30 getaway on her first run. I think it was more just some bad luck and some poor driving on Anya's part. But I have the utmost confidence that she will pick up a number of spots here on her second run.
Well, she's going for it again. 5.29 start, so even quicker than the first heat, injured toe or not. She's not going to go down without a fight.
She's a competitor, and already she's got a much better looking run. She stayed off those short walls where she touched a number of times on her first run. Smooth through Sunny into Nash Dixon. And this is the kind of descent that she was looking for in her first go-round. Early into Horseshoe again, dragging that toe like she's been doing. It's a bit of a panic move. It's tough to get your brain wrapped around to not put that toe down, but she's coming out with 99.9 speed, which isn't bad at all. A little bit drifty there, out of the exit of Devil's Dyke, the Nameless.
She only had 128 kilometers an hour last time down at this stage. She's got to be about 7 kilometers an hour quicker than that. She's not. She's only about 3.
131.5. She's recently adopted a new sliding style of putting her head on the end of her sled with this new FES equipment of hers, coming down with the 15th fastest time and only moving up 1 spot to 22nd because of the poor first run that she had.
My goodness me, she's going to have a lot of thinking to do tonight, and it's going to be a very disconsolate Anya Huber who leaves the track here after day one, not even in the top 20.
Coming into Horseshoe here, you see her put this toe down at the peak right there, steering aggressively. You watch some of the other athletes do virtually no work through that corner, having smooth descents off the end of that corner, coming across the finish line in 15th fastest time on her second heat, getting some love from one of her teammates there. We all know the battle of having a bad day at the track. We feel her pain.
Yeah. Barbara Hosch now 25th after the first heat. 5:82 first start, 5.80 for the second.
So she's improved her start time by 200ths.
Yep, local Swiss slider.
A couple more hundredths on her start to really get into the thick of things here, but having a nice descent down from kink 1, kink 2 to wall. See the bobsledders doing their track walk for their four-man practice today as Barbara comes through exit of S2 into Sunny.
One of the earliest starters, 5th out of the starting shed this morning.
You'll see her take a lower line. Oh, gets up really nice and high. I haven't seen Barbara do that all week. She's getting brave, and that's the kind of sliding style that she needs to have to find some of the speed that she's looking for and needs to pick up some spots here at the bottom of the track.
Well, that gives her a full kilometre-an-hour exit speed improvement coming out of Horseshoe.
And that's the result of taking that higher line. A little bit more aggressive, not nearly as safe. She's probably had some bad experiences here in the past when Horseshoe was quite difficult to get through, and it's tough to get that out of your brain when you go into a corner like that.
1.5 kilometres an hour quicker than her last run with a 1:12.15. Again, finds another half a second. Well, Nozomi Kimura of Japan, who was, 19th after the first heat, has slumped to 24th place at the moment. Barbara Hosch, 25th after this run.
Nice high line there. She gets it high early, turns that sled, and comes down without that aggressive cross that we've seen some of the other athletes get off at the end of Horseshoe.
Next up is Michaela Glesser of the Czech Republic. Born in Germany, spends half her time in Switzerland, the other half in the Czech Republic. And she started sliding for Germany and then changed to the Czech Republic.
Not nearly as much depth in the Czech program, being that she is the only athlete on tour representing the Czech Republic, and there are reams of athletes within the German program that you have to compete with to be able to compete at the upper echelon of the sliding sports world here on the World Cup Tour and at World Championships this week. So she's got an easier time to get to the World Championships representing the Czech Republic. Nice smooth line. She's having another really good run. She had a smooth go last time, very minimal as far as mistakes, not the fastest starter at the top of the track. And carries good speeds towards the bottom. Oh, but a bump on the left-hand side going into Horseshoe is going to give her a bit of work to do through that corner. And you saw her kind of flop out the end of the corner.
98.1 kilometers now, just a fraction slower than the first heat. She had decent pace at the bottom, considering that she was fourth at the start, 1:32.1. She can find another kilometer now there. She could pick up a place. Ooh, big skiddy there. And that's taken some of the speed out of the sled as well.
Hitting those walls will take the wind out of your sails, and 1:30 isn't nearly as quick as she had on her first run. 25th fastest descent on the second heat, 25th spot overall, 5.66 seconds back as Shelley Redden.
Again, big improvement. 1:12.69 first slide, 1:12 flat this time, and that's a lot of time to find.
It is. I'm not sure where that speed came from, because she had a better bottom of the track on her first run than she did on her second, and I saw more mistakes, so she could have been letting things run out a little bit more, really low early at the exit of Horseshoe, and she keeps it low, doing aggressive steering to not get punched out the end of that corner.
Well, part of it is that 50 sleds have gone down between her first and her second heat, so the ice getting polished and getting faster. And that'll be the case even more for Giulia Carpin of Italy, who is the second of our starters this morning, a former sprinter and long jumper from Padua. Only started sliding last season.
Holy Lord. And already at World Championships representing Italy.
Italian-built sled as well. The Italians taking the program very much in-house, and of course a major blow for them this year has been the closure of the 2006 Olympic track at Cesana, so they have no home ice. They have to at least cross the border over one mountain pass to get to a sliding venue.
Yeah, that was really disappointing to hear, that Cesana had been closed and that we don't get to take advantage of that. Well, one of my favorite sliding venues, really challenging track. And Miss Carpin here having a okay second descent relative to her first. I suspect she will be faster because of the increased speed in the ice. She was fourth off, like you mentioned, on the first run, so she had some of the slowest ice to contend with on her first descent, and now some of the fastest here on her second.
Wow, 3 kilometers an hour quicker. These corners are going to be coming at her now at unprecedented speed.
She's going to have to adjust her timing here at the bottom of the track to link up her exits. Representing Italy here in the World Championships in her second year of sliding, and this is the place where Italy claimed its first Olympic gold medal by Nino Bibbia in 1948 in the sport of Cresta.
And we are hoping that he will be here this weekend with a bit of luck. 1:11.54. He still lives in Samoritz, now in his 80s. And talked to his son, who runs the cinema in town, about his dad maybe coming out to present some of the trophies. Well, her speed down the bottom, 1:32, nearly 4 kilometers an hour quicker than her first run. She wears spectacles, doesn't slide in them. Probably not a bad idea, actually.
Sometimes your eyes can lie to you, and if it's blurry vision, I suspect that she's going by feel.
Yep. Well, our final two sliders next up, two of our youngest. They have actually made World Cup appearances. Miriam Montellano of Spain made her debut in Eagles Austria last time out. And she lies in 28th spot with close friend and travelling compartner Sara Levancic of Slovenia behind. And their fellow athletes are kind of naming them as one team together. Espinia or Slovene or something, yeah. 5:43 getaway for her, and that is 1500s quicker than her first start. Partly frosty, I'm sure partly down to nerves.
Definitely. Lots of pressure here at World Championships. You can see it sort of rear its ugly head there. She comes out of kink 2 and takes a couple nasty whacks down the wall. A bit high through snake curves there, not the ideal line through that corner. But 4.22 seconds back. Let's see if she can keep that under 5 seconds. If she can do that, that would be a fantastic second run. 97.9 kilometers an hour coming out of Horseshoe.
And that's 2 kilometers an hour quicker than the first heat.
So much faster the ice at this point in time. You don't even have to improve your driving to have a better downtime. They were really on the receiving end of the poor ice quality. Early morning here, frostier track. The sun is out now, creating that thin film of water on top. The lines have been polished. She's coming across the line in 1:12.09.
Over a second quicker than her first run. Speed's higher all the way through. So she's got rid of some nerves. She's got a quicker start. The corners are rushing at her in more of a flow. But for a lot of these athletes, you know, first time in St. Moritz, there's a lot to take in, John.
It's a long track and a lot of really subtle steering, which unfortunately is tougher to get your brain wrapped around than some of the significant steering that you have to do on some of the tougher tracks. You can see her challenged here with the exit of Horseshoe. Doesn't hit before telephone, but she was definitely high at the end of that corner, flopping off.
Big smile as ever from the Spanish girl. And she currently is just in front of Sarah WCh. Now, Sarah was a little nervy about start draw number 1. She normally goes to the far end of Park Ferme, and she had to turn around and come back to her sled. She said, I keep forgetting I'm number 1. And Noelle came up this morning and said, hey, last time I started here number 1, I won the World Championship. He said, really? Okay, maybe it's not so bad.
I don't think you can put a lot of stock in the number, but let's see if she can improve on her first start of 5.76.
23-year-old physiotherapy student, 5.67.
The inverse of her first.
Again, finds nearly a tenth of a second. 52.6, better speed as well. And she'll be more relaxed, John, and that's so much your ally if you can relax when you're on the sled.
You got to be calm to be able to execute your steers with the appropriate amount of force to drive the line that you're looking for. It all stems from being cool, calm, and collected.
Well, her gap to the leader is irrelevant to her now. This is all about learning and building your experience. She can challenge her close friend, Sarah Montiano, who's in front of her.
Really nice lines from Horseshoe there. That was well executed. She was high, low at the appropriate time, didn't get that hard cross.
Well, she had quite a low Horseshoe last time round. She's, again, 3 kilometres an hour quicker than her previous best. And that's making the corners feel very different, I'm sure.
She might find some spots here, not necessarily in the top 20, but pick up some spots over those that are in front of her.
Again, best speed for her, 1:32.6, 3 kilometres an hour quicker than the last run, and a 1:11.85, so 25th of the 29 runs. So yeah, she did find speed. She closed on her travelling companion, let's say, rather than teammate, Maria Montiano. And there are just 0.02 of a second between them. So that is 2 very close friends with precious little experience of this track, separated by 0.02 after the first day of sliding. Well, so Sarah WCh rounds out our 29 sliders. At the top of the pile, first to go in tomorrow's third heat will be race leader Shelley Rudman. She will not benefit from the best ice, but she does benefit, John Montgomery, from being a second in front, which gives her at least some breathing space.
Oh man, that is the kind of margin that this guy can deal with. If I had a second advantage going to my second day of competition, you can really let it all hang out. You can play things a little more conservatively. I suspect that's not what Shelley will do. She's going to be looking for even a greater margin of victory when she goes into runs 3 and 4 tomorrow.
She knows that with the class field that is around her, she cannot blink for a moment or they will be right by. This is how they start then, with Shelley Rudman first off the hill tomorrow, a second clear of Noelle Piker's pace. The last time the world champs were here, it was Noelle who took gold. Lizzie Yarnold took bronze in last year's world champs. And the defending world champion, Katie Eulander, slipped from 5th to 7th in the second heat, but she is always going to be a factor. Well, down there at the bottom of the top 20, some changes. Janine Flock, Katrina Heinz, Joska Lecomte got in, Maria Mazzalou got in, bumped out with Donna Crichton, Anya Huber, Lelda Predulena. Disappointing second run from Nozomi Komuro, and just 0.02 of a second separating our Lanterne Rouge, Sarah WCh, from her close friend Maria Montellano. Slovenia and Spain will be battling again for supremacy at the final end of the run, just as much as the leaders are at the top. My thanks indeed to John Montgomery for words of wisdom. He hits the ice tomorrow, so we wish him the very best of good fortune. And thank you to joining us here in St. Moritz. We've got lots more coverage. Don't forget, you can see the women's skeleton deciders, and then the 4-man bobsleigh and men's skeleton all start to build up as the weekend continues here in St. Moritz.